WZ Tales is back with another story. This one is about a man who says, "I stopped financially supporting my girlfriend after she told me I was replaceable." As you listen, think about the moment where you would have walked away and whether you agree with what he finally decided to do. "My girlfriend said, 'You're replaceable,' I replied. 'Then so is every dollar I spend on you.' Then I shut off her credit card, put a deadline on our lease, documented every receipt, and I just watched as her high-value persona collapsed when the money and the followers started turning away. My name is Jonah. I am 34 and I work as a risk analyst at an insurance firm. It is not a flashy job, but it pays well, and my whole career is about spotting danger before it explodes. Looking back, it is a bit ironic how long it took me to see what was happening in my own life. My girlfriend, Chloe, is 29. When we met, she was an event coordinator. She was organized, creative, and full of energy. About 18 months ago, she told me she wanted more. She wanted to become a wellness and lifestyle creator, to build a brand around her feminine energy and self-care routines. It sounded like a reasonable dream, and I wanted to be supportive. When we decided to move in together, Chloe found an apartment in a trendy neighborhood. Exposed brick, big windows, every corner looked like it was ready for Instagram. The rent was $600 more than I had planned to spend each month, but she loved the lighting and the layout for filming. She called it an investment in our future. I believed her. The lease went in my name since my credit score was higher and my income was steady. The plan was that I would cover more in the beginning, and once her creator work took off, she would contribute more. I ended up paying about 75% of the rent and all the utilities. It still felt like a team effort to me. She was taking a risk. I could hold things steady. About 3 months after we moved in, Chloe told me she needed better gear. Ring lights, a proper camera, backdrops, props, and new outfits for different aesthetics. She said she needed outfits for her content pillars, for brand storytelling. It sounded like normal business expenses, so I added her as an authorized user on one of my credit cards with what I thought was a reasonable limit. At first, it was a few hundred here and there. Then the bills climbed into the thousands. Designer athleisure for yoga videos. High-end skincare for unboxings. Trips to trendy cafes and boutiques to film day-in-the-life content. I would check the statement, feel a knot in my stomach, and then tell myself this was temporary, that early investment was normal. This was the first warning sign I pushed aside because I wanted to see her dream work. Chloe was posting regularly. Her follower count was slowly growing. She seemed excited and driven. I thought I was helping her build something that would eventually benefit both of us. That made it easier to ignore the rising balance. Around 8 months ago, Chloe said she wanted to hire help. She had found a PR manager who would pitch her to brands for $800 a month. She promised it would pay for itself once sponsorships started coming in. I hesitated, but I could afford it, and I did not want to be the person who held her back. That was 8 months ago. As far as I can tell, she did not land a single paid sponsorship that covered that fee. Then there were the networking events. About 6 months ago, Chloe discovered creator and entrepreneur meetups. Rented lofts, hotel conference rooms, everyone dressed like they were closing huge deals. She started going 2 or 3 times a week and came home buzzing about connections and opportunities. That is where she met Blake. Blake is probably late 30s. His social media is full of photos next to exotic cars and at exclusive parties. His bio calls him an entrepreneur and networking specialist. I never understood what he actually did. He did not hit on Chloe in front of me, but he made comments that bothered me. Things like, "Your man sounds low energy," or "He does not understand leveraging capital." At one event I reluctantly attended, he told me I was holding Chloe back by being too conservative. I did not like it, but Chloe was so excited about the people she was meeting that I let it slide. A lot of people ignore disrespect when they are scared of being called unsupportive. Then last week happened. Chloe came home from one of those events excited about a new opportunity. There was going to be a brand retreat in Scottsdale, an exclusive gathering for influencers and entrepreneurs. Blake and others in their circle were organizing it. There would be workshops on scaling your personal brand, networking by the pool, group dinners at high-end restaurants. To me, it sounded like a luxury vacation with a few talks added on. To her, it was essential for her growth. Then she said the cost. Flights, 4 nights at her resort, meals, workshops, everything. About $4,000 for one person. She wanted me to pay for it. I told her I needed to think about it. That night, I opened my spreadsheets and really looked at the numbers for the first time in a while. Between the rent, the credit card balance that was now over $12,000, the ongoing PR manager fee and normal living expenses, I realized how stretched I was. Not broke, but far from comfortable. $4,000 for a retreat did not fit anywhere in those numbers. I could finally see what my gut had been trying to say for months. The next day, I sat her down. I brought my laptop and showed her the spreadsheets. I explained calmly that we needed to cut back, that the retreat was not in our budget. I did not say never. I said not now, not at that price, not while we had this much debt. Chloe listened with her arms crossed. When I finished, she stared at me for a moment, then gave a cold little laugh that did not reach her eyes. She shook her head and said, "You know what, Jonah? You are replaceable. Do not think you are special." The room went quiet. I waited for her to say she was joking to take it back. She did not. She stood up and started walking toward the bedroom. I did not yell. I did not follow. I just asked one quiet question. If I am replaceable, then the things I am carrying can be replaced too, right? She stopped in the doorway, looked back at me, rolled her eyes, and shut the door. That was 8 days ago. Since then, that one sentence has been looping in my head. You are replaceable. It is hard to unhear someone you love reduce you to a slot that anyone with a wallet could fill. When someone tells you you are not special to them, it is usually the most honest thing they have said in a long time. I went online and asked for perspective. Most people told me the same thing, that I was not overreacting and that I needed to stop pretending this was normal support and face the fact that I was being used. 48 hours after that post, I did what I do best. I made a plan. First, I called the credit card company and closed her supplementary card. Before I did it, I called Chloe and told her what I was doing. I gave her until the end of the business day if she needed to buy anything essential. She hung up on me. I closed the card anyway. Next, I emailed our building management. I asked them to either transfer the lease into Chloe's name, if she qualified, or to start the early termination process according to the lease. I said in writing that I would keep paying my share of rent and utilities for 30 more days, and then all financial responsibility would move to her. I kept copies of every email, every text, every statement. It is what I do at work. You document everything so that later there is no confusion about what happened. Chloe's reaction went through stages. First, anger. I got texts calling me controlling and manipulative. She said I was punishing her for having boundaries. Then came guilt. She said she did not mean the replaceable comment like that she was just stressed, that we could work it out if I stopped being so cold. When that did not work, she shifted to playing victim with her friends. I started getting messages from people in her circle saying I was toxic and financially abusive. One of Blake's buddies even messaged me saying I needed therapy for control issues. In the past, that might have gotten under my skin. But after seeing the pattern, I recognized it for what it was. She was trying to weaponize other people's opinions to get me back into the same role. One night, I was scrolling through her social media, trying to figure out when this had all changed. I noticed some links in her bio I had never paid attention to. One led to something called the Feminine Frequency Method, a coaching program she was selling. Curious, I clicked. Chloe had built a whole coaching business I knew almost nothing about. She was selling courses and coaching on how to enter high-value relationships. The basic tier was almost $300. The VIP tier was close to $1,000, and the entire sales pitch was built on our life. There were photos of our apartment, the one I paid for, described as creating a sanctuary that reflects your value. There were screenshots of dinners I paid for, with captions about allowing yourself to receive abundance. She talked about how she manifested a partner in finance who supports her purpose and how her students could do the same. She anonymized it a bit, but anyone who knew us would recognize the details. My job was described as a high-level corporate role in risk management. Our building was tagged. Things I had said to her in private were rewritten as quotes from What High-Value Men Understand. In a private Facebook group linked to the program, she went even further. She talked about strategies to get men to cover expenses, upgrade lifestyles, and fund personal ventures. It was framed as empowerment, but it read like a manual on how to turn partners into sponsors. That was the moment it really sank in. I was not just supporting her. I was her content. I was her proof of concept. I was the example she sold to other people as a result of her methods. Turning your real relationship into a business model without your partner's informed consent is not empowerment. It is exploitation. After that, Chloe pushed harder for us to sit down and talk this through. She wanted us to meet and negotiate a way forward. Part of me still hoped we could at least end things calmly, so I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop. I came prepared. I printed out 6 months of credit card statements and highlighted charges she had labeled as business expenses that were really lifestyle upgrades. Designer handbags, spa days, tickets to influencer events, bottle service at clubs, thousands of dollars that had nothing to do with cameras or tripods. She showed up 20 minutes late. She ordered a matcha latte and started with, "I've been thinking and I realized we both made mistakes here." I did not argue. I just slid the statements across the table. She glanced at them for a second and pushed them back. "That is not the point, Jonah," she said. "The point is you are trying to control me by controlling the money. Blake says." I cut her off. "What does Blake actually do besides take photos next to rented cars?" Her face went red. She said Blake was taking her to the next level, introducing her to real brands and opportunities I never believed in enough to help with. That is when I decided to push harder. I asked, "Chloe, I have supported you for a year and a half. What level are you on right now? What have you actually earned?" She started to cry. This time it sounded less like performance and more like panic. "You do not understand," she said. "I need to maintain the image. I need to keep up appearances because I signed a contract." That made me stop. I asked what contract. It all came out. 4 months earlier, she had signed with a creator management agency. They promised brand deals, sponsorships, and speaking gigs. In return, she had to keep up a strict posting schedule, hit engagement targets, and deliver certain campaigns. If she failed, there would be financial penalties. She had been burning money trying to hit numbers she never reached. To land the contract, she had inflated her life. She told them she had a partner in finance and that our household income was in the high 6 figures. She used my job, my stability, and my income as proof. The agency thought she had a solid financial base behind her. In other words, I was not just her boyfriend. I was a selling point. This is another quiet boundary a lot of people never talk about. When your partner uses your name, income, or status to sell themselves without your knowledge, they are spending more than your money. They are spending your reputation. Later that night, I decided to check into Blake more closely. It did not take long. The cars he posed with were from rental services that cater to influencers. The VIP events were often free seats used to make parties look more exclusive. The lifestyle was mostly smoke and mirrors. Blake did not have money. But he believed Chloe did because he thought she had access to mine. He saw her as his way into a real cash flow. She saw him as her door into a higher tier of influence. They were both using each other. I was the one paying for both dreams. When I showed Chloe what I had found, she did not even deny it. She just looked tired and said she had figured it out a couple of weeks earlier, but by then she had already signed the agency contract and promised results. She thought if she could just keep all of it going a little longer, something would finally work out. Right now, Chloe owes the agency around $8,000 in penalties. She has maxed her personal cards trying to keep up appearances. Blake, once he realized the money was drying up, stopped answering her calls. She came to me not because she suddenly realized my value as a partner, but because she was drowning and I was the last lifeboat. I decided I was not going to bail her out financially. That line had to be firm. I might help her with information or contacts if I felt it was safe, but the days of paying for her image were over. I also spoke with an attorney. We drafted a cease and desist letter about how she was using details of our relationship in her coaching program. The letter said she had to remove anything that could reasonably be linked to me and stop using our life as a testimonial. It also warned that if she made public statements about me that were false or damaging, I would consider legal action. We had the letter delivered by a professional courier, so there would be no confusion about what was said. At the same time, I followed through on the 30-day plan. I paid my final share of rent and utilities, but I paid them directly to the landlord and utility companies. Not a single dollar went through Chloe. I confirmed in writing with the landlord that my obligation was complete and that I would not be renewing the lease. I thought that was the end. Then Chloe posted a story on Instagram. In the video, she was crying and talking about how she had been controlled and manipulated by a wealthy partner who used money as a weapon. She did not say my name, but she shared enough details that anyone who knew us would know who she meant. Within an hour, 3 people sent me screenshots. I had expected something like this. I already had a folder with texts where she called me replaceable, messages where she asked me to pay for things to maintain her image, emails where she justified the higher rent because it made good content, and screenshots from her coaching pages where she talked about getting men to invest in your lifestyle. I did not post any of it. I do not want my life to turn into the same kind of drama content that caused all this in the first place. Instead, I sent a calm message to 3 people, her mother, her older sister, and a close friend who had previously told me she was worried about Chloe's choices. I attached a few key screenshots and wrote that I was not interested in fighting online, but I wanted them to have the full context before they only heard her side. Chloe's mom called me the next day and apologized. She said she had been worried for a while but did not know how to bring it up. She asked if there was any chance to fix things. I told her gently that it was too late for that. The Instagram story came down within a day. From what I heard later, my message set off a chain reaction. Her sister had a long talk with her about using people and brought up similar patterns from her past. Her close friend stopped returning her calls for a while. That friend had been one of her coaching success stories and did not like realizing she was part of something that looked more like a scheme than a program. Her networking circle started to pull back when they realized her high-value lifestyle was funded by someone else. Blake disappeared completely and blocked her. It turned out a lot of those people were only interested in her because they thought she had money or access to it. When that illusion broke, so did the connections. Her mother helped her get into therapy and find a smaller place she could afford. Her coaching program fell apart as clients started comparing notes. The agency dropped her when she could not meet their terms, and her reputation in that space took a hit. As for me, I moved into a new 1-bedroom apartment with normal walls, normal windows, and no thought given to ring light potential. It is quiet. It is mine. I had more energy for work and ended up getting a promotion I had been too distracted to chase before. A few weeks after I settled in, I got an email from a marketing company. They had learned my side of the story during their research and wanted to know if I would partner with them on a campaign about financial literacy for men. They imagined content about budgeting, relationship dynamics, learning when you are being used. The irony was clear, but I turned it down. I told them I did not want to turn my pain into content. That is how this all started. I am not interested in becoming the male version of what I just walked away from. So here I am. Single, living in a smaller place, probably overthinking my finances, but I am no longer trying to prove my value by how much I can pay for someone else's image. I am not replaceable to myself anymore. Only people who truly value you get access to your support. Here are some of the lessons I have taken from this. Lesson 1. Support is healthy when both people are honest and invested. When one person treats the other like an endless sponsor, it stops being support and becomes dependence and control. Lesson 2. If someone calls you replaceable when you set a boundary, believe them. They are telling you how they see you. Lesson 3. Turning your real relationship into marketing material without clear consent is not empowerment. It is using someone's life as a product. Lesson 4. Money is not just numbers. It is time, energy, and trust. If your partner hides how they are using your support, that is a serious breach, not a small misunderstanding. Lesson 5. You are allowed to walk away instead of fixing a dynamic where you are treated as a resource first and a person second. Lesson 6. Being generous is good. Ignoring every red flag because you are scared of being unsupportive is not. What about you? At what point in this story would you have stopped paying and stepped back? Have you ever realized that someone you loved was quietly turning you into content or a case study instead of a partner? Share your thoughts in the comments.